My piece in Datacide is entitled Confessions of an Accidental Activist, because I'm not like an overtly political person, I don't think, except if you go into the kind of Marxist or critical theory that everything we do is political. Okay, fine, I'm an activist. But what I did not want to do was to annoy people, to provoke people in Uganda. I simply produced a play, and I found myself on the BBC website. They deliberately hyped up this kind of image of me as a caged activist, someone who had spoken out, and then I was locked up with these scary guys, and you know, my parents were terrified, my friends were, you know, they were saying, shit, how can we help him? It was actually fine, these were all very nice people. So I was well looked after. So what happened in the end was that the Western media got hold of the story and effectively turned it into a much bigger issue connected with the whole struggle for the legislation of gay rights all over the world. And what was annoying about that was it immediately played into the hands of the politicians in Uganda who wanted to present us as activists. So what we, to summarize that point, because you know, it's crazy in a way. On the one hand, you have Western journalists sort of saying, look, what you're doing is really, really important. While we were saying, no, it's just a play. On the other hand, you have politicians saying, aha, you see, we told you that what you're doing is really, really important. We're like, no, it's just a play. But you can't win. We found ourselves in a situation where if we were trying to tell the Western media, look, actually, we don't really care about gay rights too much. We're just trying to humanize a gay character. And then they denied that, and they talked up what we were doing to the extent where I was literally dragged into court. I was arrested, put on remand, and taken to court, and was in court for 3 months, and finally deported. And so one of the things that occurred to me that was very ironic was that in our play, the main character was, when he tries to talk to the media to explain that he's a normal person, when he finally comes out to the whole world, he is then sacrificed, effectively. He's dragged out in front of the public and eventually killed. And the story of the hero is based very loosely on the life of a gay rights activist who was murdered in Uganda. David Kato, yeah, indeed. So I didn't realise I'd have people who actually knew what I was talking about. That's embarrassing. I thought, you know, normally I'd just be I could say anything, get away with it, you know. But yeah, so and unfortunately, David Kato's murder was kind of he wasn't killed by David. So David Kato was a gay rights campaigner in Uganda who was murdered. We don't really know who murdered him, but the government reaction was first of all to say he deserved it. And so even if, as I suspect, he was not murdered by government agents or anything, the Ugandan government effectively condoned his murder, and that was pretty shocking. So what we did was we made a metaphor of that murder in the play, and whereby the hero's kind of superiors let him get killed. So it's not that they actively take a hand in his killing, but they let him get killed. Now, everyone who came to the play, including some people who were openly hostile to homosexual rights, everyone who came said afterwards that was a great play. And I didn't write it, so I can say that. I didn't direct it either. But what was really satisfying was the reaction afterwards, the conversation afterwards with people. And I knew people in the audience. I was watching who was coming in, and I knew the people who were there to actually vilify and condemn the play. But what was really satisfying was when I went to talk to them afterwards, they were saying, actually, we don't see what the fuss is all about. It's just a comedy. And so that was very satisfying. And we had one night a very homophobic MC. He's like the kind of Buju Banton of Uganda, came to see the play with his crew. And we actually had a music night organised that night. And afterwards, he jumped on stage And he grabbed the mic and he said, hello, yeah, we've all just seen a play about a gay man and it was very funny, but kind of got some things wrong, and I want to correct those mistakes. And he started rapping his homophobic tune. Now, some of my well-meaning NGO friends said to me, you can't let them carry on, turn off the music. But for me, that was actually the moment where the public space was opened up to debate without any kind of intervention by the state or by authoritative figures. We were a local theatre company who put on the play, and we didn't have funding from anyone on the outside. We funded it using the bar from our club. And here was a guy who had every right to say what he wanted to say, and he wasn't being switched off, he wasn't being promoted by money from the outside. So it was a kind of authentic debate happening on the street. And in a way, I don't have a sort of clear conclusion to what happened to me, and I think the debate is still going on. But one thing I would like to say is, first of all, I don't think that the debate about homosexuality should be happening in any parliament. I don't think that parliaments and states should decide who we can and can't sleep with. I think that should happen at a community level or at an individual level. And I certainly don't think that simply decriminalising homosexuality in Uganda or anywhere would end the problems for people with different sexual orientations. Because what really matters is what the members of your community think about you, and what the members of your family think about you, and what your friends think about you. That's what matters to me, I think. And so I got really annoyed with the way in which we were trying to affect that kind of change at a very micro local level, and the way in which everyone was jumping on that to kind of push us into their struggle, whether their struggle was homophobic or pro-gay rights. And what I felt was really destructive about, particularly, I'm afraid to say, the international human rights campaigners who used our case, what was really destructive was they made our play, they connected our play to a fight that was theirs and not our fight. They cared about the state level legalization of homosexuality, which would be forced. Because you can't, if you legalized homosexuality right now in Uganda, it would be completely fake, because there isn't the kind of social desire for that yet. So you have to, this in a sense is an argument for a kind of grassroots, upwards type change. And then finally, I'd just like to say that, warn anyone who's involved in this kind of cultural activism that it has to happen on your own terms, otherwise it's meaningless, it will be instrumentalized and used against you ultimately. And that's I think, as I said, I'm a sort of accidental activist. I fell into this. I didn't want to be an activist at all, but I was made into one by our very modest cultural intervention. And what I have learned about this more than anything else is don't talk to the bloody mainstream media.